The 2nd of January 1978, the dawn of a new era in sci-fi. Nothing would be the same again. But on that very same night, the cinema wasn't sci-fi's only focus. On a TV set in a galaxy much closer to home, confused viewers flocked to the gloomy side of the Force.
I think Blake Seven really wanted to be the definitive British space opera.
Blake Seven was a brave attempt at a much more adult kind of sci-fi.
Let's go.
It was science fiction in the way Americans understood it. It wasn't earthbound, it had spaceships, different planets, alien races, whatever. But it was still a British show, i.e. it was bloody miserable.
This was going to be hard-hitting as such. It was going to be different. It wasn't just going to be a soft thing for little boys behind, or little boys and little girls sitting on the sofa at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Big Bone Blake led the rebellion against an evil superpower, galumphing around the universe like some kind of intergalactic pig farmer.
At the core of Blake Seven was Blake, who was the idealist, and he was setting out with this plan to smash the Federation by whatever means necessary.
They butchered my family, my friends. They murdered my past and gave me tranquilized dreams.
At least you're still alive.
No, not until free men can think and speak.
Blake was joined on his wobbly spaceship by a sulky band of freedom fighters, gloomily hell-bent on smashing the Federation Nazis, and a few monsters.
The whole universe was run by really awful people, and even the rebels weren't actually very likeable, and they kept squabbling all the time.
Blake was your eponymous hero, of course, the man in the white hat. But the others, particularly my character, Avon, was by no means anybody's hero. He was a thief, a murderer, an embezzler. He was quite a nasty piece of work.
It really came to life when the guy who played Avon came on. He was this sort of cynical computer expert, quite dashing, and then just the power game started.
Listen to me. Wealth is the only reality, and the only way to obtain wealth is to take it away from somebody else. Wake up, Blake!
I felt sorry for Gareth, who was playing Blake, because he had to be heroic. He couldn't hit women or shoot people in the back, but I could, and did.
You better get her out of here. I really rather enjoyed that.
I think Avon actually felt an awful lot of the time that he was in control, that he was manipulating Blake, and I think that there were 1 or 2 occasions when he found out he wasn't.
The two male leads, either they really fancied each other or they hated each other. You couldn't quite work it out.
If any of our control systems are damaged by the impact, we will be helpless.
I'm not exactly in a commanding position now.
Activating.
Have you got any better ideas?
As a matter of fact, no, I haven't.
No matter how many pretty girls there are on these shows, what counts is the relationship between the two guys.
But there was one space chick the guys would ignore at their peril.
Servaland, Supreme Commander of the Terran Federation, I think. Set course for the planet Earth. Computed and laid in. Main drive. Maximum power.
She kind of looked a bit like Gary Newman. She had that sort of early 80s vibe about her, and all the makeup and everything, but she was deliciously evil.
She was like the universe's dominatrix. She also took over the show.
Servalan was bad and beautiful. A potent combination for any confused adolescent.
She was sort of instrumental in my sexual awakening. She definitely had a deep sexual presence.
Guys would come up to me in the street and say, gosh, you know, you really had an amazing influence on my life at a very crucial time. And I knew exactly what they meant, and I'd say, did it work? Yes. I was thrilled.
But not everything was spunky-dory. By Series 3, Blake had left the show, and the programme's less than special effects were under fire.
It was 25 years ago. It was a very low-budget show, bargain basement Star Trek or whatever.
It actually is true that the original effects budget for Blake 7 episodes were £50 an episode.
I don't think it was nearly as bad as people make out. It's exaggerated.
50 quid for a giant ant? Bargain. But with Blake long gone, things were getting silly.
Take that!
In later seasons, it shaded towards kind of being a camp show. I think it probably didn't appeal very much to actual science fiction fans because of that.
Avon.
Serverland.
I think, if you don't mind, I would prefer my slave to address me as mistress. By that time, as far as I was concerned, the show had run out of steam, ideas, impetus, and originality. So I was really gritting my teeth until the end of it.
But there was one last long-faced hurrah as 10 million tuned in to see the final episode, the return of Blake, and a shock ending.
Have you betrayed us? Have you betrayed me?
I would argue that the most memorable thing about Blake 7 is the final scene, where it has the bravery to kill off every single one of its characters. And in terms of ending, it must be the bleakest in the history of British television.
I loved that ending. I thought it was great. The final misunderstanding.
I was waiting for you.
I Killed Blake. The wonderful payoff. I thought that was a terrific payoff. The only friend Avon possibly could have had in the universe, he kills him.